Hi, this is Jim McCrell, and you're listening to TV Confidential, and you might learn something.
Ed Robertson, welcoming you to this week's edition of TV Confidential, radio talk show about television that will welcome back Rhonda Shear. In our second hour, Rhonda Shear, the actress known around the world as the legendary host of USA Up All Night. Rhonda is bringing back Up All Night as a series of monthly specials that will premiere on Saturday, October 25th in partnership with the Kings of Horror channel on YouTube. The new Up All Night will spotlight all kinds of indie horror films alongside cult classics, world premieres, and surprise celebrity guests, all bookended, of course, by Rhonda's trademark quick wit and playful style. We'll welcome back Rhonda Shear in our second hour. You have to stay tuned for that. Also coming up in our second hour, we'll play part two of a conversation that began last week with Mariette Hartley. Mariette's latest movie, Our Almost Completely True Love Story, is available now both on DVD and on streaming on demand. We'll talk some more about that. We'll also ask her about some of her other famous movie and TV roles, including her appearance on The Twilight Zone when she joins us for part two of our conversation, also in our second hour. You'll have to stay tuned for that as well. In the meantime, we'll begin our first hour by welcoming back our friend Rich Podolsky. Rich Podolsky, longtime journalist, one-time beat writer for the Miami Dolphins, one-time staff writer for CBS Sports, author of several books on TV broadcasting and the music of the 60s and 70s. Rich's latest book takes a deep dive into the 21-year broadcast partnership of John Madden and Pat Summerall, two stalwarts of the NFL who separately each left their own mark on the game. Summerall as an NFL championship-winning player, John Madden, of course, as the Super Bowl-winning coach of the Oakland Raiders. But once they were paired together, Madden and Summerall revolutionized the way NFL games were broadcast on television, while also becoming the greatest broadcast team ever. John Madden's rise to stardom is particularly interesting. While it's easy to say he was a natural at broadcasting, he actually struggled his first 2 years at CBS and was nearly fired after his first season. That is one of the stories that Rich shares in Madden Summerall. We'll talk about that and more in just a second. Rich Podolsky, welcome back to our program.
Thanks, good to be with you.
Your previous book was an inside look at CBS and the NFL Today, how the NFL Today pregame show rose into prominence in the 1970s and early 1980s. The backstory of Madden Summerall kind of converges with that. Was this book an offshoot of that, or when did you realize Madden Summerall was a separate story unto its own?
When I was having lunch about a year after the previous book, which was called You Are Looking Alive, which is what Brent Musburger said to open the NFL Today for 15 straight years. About a year after that, all the promotion and everything was complete. I was having lunch with my ex-colleague, Jazz Delson, who worked about 40 years at both CBS Sports and Fox Sports when Fox got the NFC contract. And she told me she was interested in writing a Substack because she had a lot of really great Summerall Madden stories that she wanted to tell. And I suggested, why don't you write a book instead of just a Substack? And she said, I can't write a book. And I said, I'll be glad to help you as a friend and help you put it together. Without you do the writing, I'll do the organizing. And she said, no, I can't do that. But I will write a story or two for Substack. She said, why don't you write the book and I'll help you? and I started to think about it. And, you know, as with the NFL Today, what occurred to me, one of the big reasons I wrote the book was because it was the first of so many things in the sports broadcasting world. The first pregame show to go live, the first show to have highlights, the first show to have a woman, the first show to have an African American, the first show to discuss gambling, et cetera, plus all these new people, including Brent Musburger and Phyllis George, became stars. So America loved that show. It won 13 Emmys its first year out of the box, and which was an enormous amount. And everybody has been trying to copy it since. So as I was saying with that, I realized how important that was. And it occurred to me that Madden and Summerall weren't just two great broadcasters who together were even greater, but they really changed a lot of things about how football was covered. And when you look at it, what emerged was not just a portrait of the two of them in the book, but as one of my podcast friends said, it was a cultural moment, the rise of the NFL as America's most powerful TV spectacle. And it was carried by a duo so iconic, no team since has been able to replace them.
Many of the things we take for granted when we watch football on television today, whether college football, whether NFL football, and whether it's football on Fox, ABC, Amazon Prime, et cetera, all of the staples of a broadcast that we take for granted, they started with Madden and Summerall. And some of it is the stuff we see on the air, but a lot of it is the behind-the-scenes preparation. And John Madden in particular was very instrumental in that, wasn't he?
Yeah, John Madden really changed the way that networks prepare for a game. I should say John Madden and Terry O'Neill, the executive producer that CBS brought in to revamp CBS's NFL broadcasting and bring it into the 20th century. At that point, CBS was behind ABC and NBC in production, and O'Neill was a brilliant production guy. Formerly was producer for Monday Night Football under Roone Arledge. So O'Neill and Madden both wanted to have access to players and coaches a day or two prior to the game so they could sit down and have what we call today production meetings and get the inside scoop from the coaches, their strategy, what to expect, and from the star players, get some real good vignettes about their life, their lifestyle, and what makes them tick. And they would take that information and they wouldn't hold it until Sunday. They were on Saturday night in the Terry O'Neill's suite at his hotel. They would hold a big meeting with the entire crew, all the camera guys, the sound guys, all the production people, and Terry O'Neill and Madden would teach the entire body of CBS workers for that game what to expect in that game. If you had a test coming up and you knew all the questions ahead of time, you'd be very well prepared. Well, that's exactly what Madden and O'Neill were doing. They were preparing the cameramen especially for the plays that both teams were going to run in important situations. So when it was third and long, they were prepared for what was going to happen.
And that's one of the great takeaways for me, and that's one of the great takeaways you'll get, folks, when you pick up a copy of Rich's latest book, Madden and Summerall, How They Revolutionized NFL Broadcasting, available wherever books are sold, Lyons Press as well as Amazon.com. One of the great takeaways, as you just illustrated, Rich, was what made Madden so great as a broadcaster, and the imprint that he left for future broadcasters is he approached the telecast of the game much the same as if he were coaching that game. I mean, instead of working with 45 football players, offense and defense, blah, 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 he took the entire crew, he would walk the entire crew over how to approach, what to look for, how to situate your cameras, and how to anticipate certain things from the sideline or from the line of scrimmage so that you can capture it on film in that moment. I mean, and that was brilliant.
It really was. And they had everybody in that suite Saturday night, they ordered dinner in, and nobody went out partying. Madden kept the room at 59 degrees to make sure nobody fell asleep on him, and it showed in the production of the game. They single-handedly over several years, Pat and John lifted the footprint of the NFL, lifted their image to such a high point. They may have been the only broadcast team people tuned in just to hear their voices. They were the voices of Sunday NFL football. Pat Summerall's voice especially was one of the great voices that stirred people up. At Pat's funeral, John Madden neatly said there were voices before Pat Summerall and there will be voices after him. But Pat's was the voice of the NFL. And he really was. He was a Renaissance guy. He was the first to go from the field to the broadcast booth as an analyst and then to a play-by-play man. And he started in 1962, and he didn't get with John Madden until 1981.
Mm-hmm.
So he had literally a second career working with Madden, because once they were paired together, it was like peanut butter and jelly meeting for the first time. And I wanted to point out that before Madden and O'Neill set the stage with the production meetings with the coaches and the players, what happened was the analyst and the play-by-play guy and the producer and the director, those four guys would meet with the two PR guys from each team, and they would get the 3-deep roster, who was injured, and how to pronounce the tough names. And then they would go out and have margaritas, and that might be Friday night. And in the case of Summerall and Brookshire, they would party on Sunday, bring the Bloody Marys into the booth.
Yeah.
That was the big change.
That was the big change. Rich Podolsky's latest book, Madden and Summerall, How They Revolutionized NFL Broadcasting. Deep dive into the 21-year broadcast partnership of John Madden and Pat Summerall, first on CBS, then on Fox, that not only provides a cradle-to-death biography of each broadcaster, but also shows you how the entire approach to broadcasting an NFL game on television changed during Madden and Summerall's time together to reflect how we all watch football today. Rich's book includes many never-before-told insider stories from friends, family members, and dozens of ex-colleagues of Madden and Summerall. Madden and Summerall available wherever books are sold through Lyons Press as well as Amazon.com.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be right back.
One more item. If you're starting a company, particularly one that is in an emerging market, you know that averting any sort of legal dispute is crucial to your business plan. Our friends at Tectonic Law offer an array of services that can help you avoid and preempt future litigation while also developing and protecting your intellectual property and intangible assets. Tectonic Law serves the needs of a host of emerging industries throughout California and beyond, including industrial designers, beverage makers, artists, farmers, retail stores, health practitioners, wellness experts, cosmetics manufacturers, nonprofit organizations, innovators in sustainable practices, and libraries. Go to tectoniclaw.com to learn more about how Tectonic Law can help your business thrive. tectoniclaw.com. Rock solid representation for groundbreaking industries.
This portion of TV Confidential is brought to us by our friends at Front Porch Realty, the community of realtors in the Northern Bay area of California that is committed to finding the solution that is best for their clients. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or looking to sell or lease your property in Northern California, call Karen Strain at 415-886-7411 or visit frontporchrealtygroup.com for more information on how they can help you.
Ed Robertson, thanking you for listening to the TV Confidential podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit the subscribe button so that you won't miss our next episode.
Hello, this is Louise Sorrell. I'm talking to TV Confidential, and you should tune in because they're really wonderful.
You know, there's a saying that the criterion for greatness and being the best in what you do or ever done is, can the history of what you did be written without mentioning your name? Think of that. Think of how many histories could be written without mentioning Pat Summerall. History of college football, history of pro football, NFL on television. For 22 years we were together, and Pat many years before that. And there were voices before Pat Summerall's, and there'll be voices after. But he is the voice of the NFL. How could those histories be written without Pat Summerall?
One of the takeaways for me, Rich, is you mentioned it was like peanut butter meeting jelly for the first time. One of the reasons why, and I hadn't thought of this until I read Madden and Summerall, Rich, one of the reasons why they worked, even though they're different personalities, they didn't socialize with each other, but when they were in the broadcast booth doing the work, they both understood each other because they both, Madden never played professional football, but they both had deep roots in the NFL. They both knew the game, and they both loved the game, and they each instinctively understood that about each other.
They had tremendous respect for each other. You're right. When the red light went on, the red light went on for both of them. Mm-hmm. They were great together. But when the game was over, they went their separate ways. Pat preferred to go out to dinner with executives from one of the teams that was playing that weekend, and while John preferred to hang with the young kids in the crew who were hired right out of college by Terry O'Neill. He hired 9 kids in 1981 to learn the business and to be kind of runners and gophers and do the graphics. And 2 of those kids wound up being Richie Zions, who today is the lead producer for Fox NFL and has produced 8 Super Bowls, and Mike Arnold, who is the lead director for CBS NFL and has directed 7 Super Bowls. So O'Neill knew what he was doing when he hired these kids, and they turned out to be great production people as well. So Madden preferred to hang with the kids. One example, when he went to Washington, D.C. for a game, he gets to the hotel. There's a note there from Ethel Kennedy, the widow of RFK, and the note says, "John, we're big fans of yours. We'd love to have lunch or dinner with you this weekend." And starry-eyed Mike Arnold looks up at him and says, "John, are you going to have dinner with Ethel Kennedy?" And John looks down at him and thinks for a second, says, "Nah, I'm going to have Mexican food with you guys." and that's who John Madden was.
Yeah.
You know, he had an insatiable curiosity about people. He would go to his hotel in Chicago and sit in the lobby all day and talk to anybody who wanted to meet him, and he'd kind of interview them about what their jobs were and what their backgrounds were and what it was like to live out in the Midwest, etc. So after he had these production meetings with the players, he had the ability to capture their mannerisms, their slang, their essence, and he had a stunning ability on the air to coach both teams simultaneously, better than they're being coached on the field.
Madden and Summerall, How They Revolutionized NFL Broadcasting, by our guest Rich Podolsky, available wherever books are sold, Lyons Press as well as Amazon.com.
My first radio experience was at KSFO with Gene Nelson, and they just lost their sports guy, so they wanted someone temporary to fill in until they hired the sports guy. And then when they hired the sports guy, I figured, boom, I'm done, that's it, no more radio. And they said, oh, no, you're still on. You're not a sports guy.
Rich, growing up in the Bay Area, I've always been partial to Madden, not so much when he coached the Raiders because, I was I'm still a 49ers fan. But around the time he started his CBS career, John Madden also started a parallel career in radio. He would call in to one of the top DJs at the time, Gene Nelson, during drive time, and they would, it was like a 10-minute segment. It was called John Madden on Sports. Sometimes the topic would have something to do with sports, but usually it was whatever was on John Madden's mind at that time, at that moment, on that morning. So Gene Nelson would say Giants, and maybe he might talk about Vita Blue, and then from Vita Blue he'll talk about what he had for dinner at this new restaurant down the street from his house.
Those were great shows. I wish I could have got a hold of more of them. I used to sit with John when he did some of those, and those shows really helped John hone his time better and when to get in and when to get out. And that was his big problem in that first year. He had no coaching at all when he decided to take CBS's offer of 4 or 5 games. He didn't know how to be an analyst, and they didn't help him. And to make it worse, they gave him a different director and a different producer and a different play-by-play partner for each of those games. And how was he supposed to get a rhythm, the poor guy? And he slowly watched his tape and knew he had to tone down his stories. And he learned to get in at the right time and to get out at the right time. And when he was finally paired with Summerall in 1981, his 3rd season on the air, Madden's 3rd season, it was just terrific because they had worked together once in 1979, and they already had a good feel for each other. And as I said, they had tremendous respect. And the alternative in 1981 was, if not Summerall as his partner, the boss, head of CBS, wanted Vince Scully, yeah, partner. And although Vince Scully is a beloved broadcaster, especially of the Dodgers for all those years, Vin liked to work alone. He didn't have an analyst for most of those years doing Dodgers games. He liked to tell all the stories. And on the football games, before he did with Madden, he hardly left John any room to come in and tell his little anecdotes. And Terry O'Neill said to the boss, Van Gordon Sauter at that time, if it's Scully and Madden, the viewer will be wrung out by halftime. Mm-hmm. And they had a vote on October 26th after each of those guys had 4 weeks with John Madden, and all the executives, except the boss, voted for Pat Summerall, and the boss gave in.
And we'll pick up that thread on the other side of the break. Rich Podolsky is on the line with us. Rich's latest book, Madden and Summerall, How They Revolutionized NFL Broadcasting, available wherever books are sold through Lyons Press. Take a quick time out. We'll talk some more about the legacy of John Madden and Pat Summerall. We come back here on TV Confidential.
Now you can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go. And pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-222-0511. 800-222-0511. Again, that's 800-222-0511.